Real Estate Talk discusses the ins and outs of our local housing industry, sponsored by Keller Williams Spokane.
Well, hi folks, welcome to Real Estate Talk, and I am your host, Ken Sax, and we have a co-host today, Mr. Rick Flann.
Hey, it's great to be here, Ken. Thanks for the introduction there.
Awesome. So what we're going to talk about, we're still in a seller's market, and with a seller's market, we have multiple offers. So meaning more than one buyer are submitting an offer for a property, and if you have more than one, that's multiple. And we're seeing 5, 6, 7 offers. So I'm a buyer. How the heck do I get picked so the seller works with me versus all these other buyers? And there's a strategy to that. And so what we've been seeing both on social media with broker comments, as well as a lot of discussions and conversations and questions in the office, are these brokers saying, how the heck do I get my buyer chosen to win? And like I just said, there is a definite strategy to that. So whether you're a buyer or a real estate broker experiencing these frustrations, this show's for you. Yeah. So my guest today, we have Tanya Tyler. Welcome, Tanya.
Thank you so much.
And we have Mr. Marc Milson, both with Keller Williams Spokane. Guys, why don't you just give us a 15-second intro on you?
Sure. Been with Keller Williams since 2004, and I have a team, Navigator Northwest Real Estate, and we've got 4 realtors, so kind of smaller team, and we do about $25 million in production a year.
Okay, and you're seeing multiple offers? Lots of multiple offers.
Writing them and receiving them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I'm Tanya Tyler. I'm an individual agent, and I have been with Keller Williams for 4 years. And I am seeing tons of multiple offers, a buyer's agent and a list agent. I'm seeing it on both sides. In fact, I was in one last week for 23 multiple offers. 23 offers. Yeah, I was one of 23. That's like crazy. It's a lot. Yeah, and we're just in the beginning of March.
Sure. So let's just jump in, you guys. I'm a buyer. What should you be telling me? What should my broker be telling me when we are preparing an offer for a house when the listing agent, the agent representing the seller, says, hey, I've got 3 other offers coming in. What do I need to do? What do I need to say?
Well, I think it starts way before that, actually.
Okay.
And that's when you're first going through the buyer presentation and explaining what's happening with the market. So, we have a tool at KW, which is the TMO, but the SAR has some great tools too, where you can look at market data. You can just log into Paragon, and if you know your buyer's looking in the $250,000 range in Shadle, well, you can just pull up those grids. You can do the same thing that we put together, which is how many homes are on the market, whether active or contingent,
sure.
Then show them how many of those are contingent. What's our average accepted sale price for the last 58 homes? Setting that expectation of, hey, this is what we're dealing with right now.
Sure. So you said TMO. So for our listeners, that's a total market overview. Yeah. And that's a Keller Williams tool that we get, every week, which has a complete breakdown of price ranges. And we've talked about the TMO before, the total market overview before on this show. A breakdown of properties within $25,000 increments, how long it's been on the market, what the sales price to list price ratio is, and all this different information. So, Marc, what you're saying is that this is a tool that you show your buyers to start educating them on, here's what we're in for.
That's right. That's right.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned SAR, and for our listeners, that's the Spokane Association of Realtors, which we are all members of, and they also have similar market data tools. Not as in-depth as what Keller Williams has, but similar data for other brokers to use.
Yeah.
Good.
I like some of those tools. I use the TMO, which is the total market overview.
Right.
I use that all the time for listings and for buyers, and I think that's a great education. As I meet with a buyer, the first thing that I do is I set up that expectation, like Marc was saying, right in the beginning. I mean, I think it's important to make sure that your buyer understands, I'm going to try to empower you, but we're kind of like on a roller coaster.
Sure.
Like, it's a busy roller coaster, and you need to understand that. So I always tell my buyers, have lots of patience. We're going to get you that house. We might lose a couple deals, but just trust me, we're going to get this through. And using some of those great tools like you use, Marc, those are what we use as well.
Well, and what I've been hearing a lot from agents, the pushback from clients at times has been, we have to go, we have to go, we have to go. And even agents, right, when they've been writing offer after offer, and yet what you've both established is clarity around expectations. Sounds like you've really slowed the conversation down. So what have you seen happen, assuming this hasn't always been what you've done, if you don't take these initial steps of education for your clients?
You know, I find the easiest people to skip that with are people I'm close with, family members, where I feel like, gosh, I feel bad going through this, and I'm really cheating them. So, you know, and I use that language when I talk to them is, hey, I know you bought a home before. I know that we're going to work together. I just want to make sure I'm not skipping these steps. I want to make sure we're on the same page, so you know everything that's going to happen from today until you get the keys to your house.
Awesome.
So just bear with me, and then I can tell if I need to speed up that process. But going through that's really important. The other big step that we skip a lot of times is, well, they're close to us, they're family members or they're friends, and their finances are probably good. They already said they talked to a lender, but really taking that step back before we're getting to the table with an offer. Taking that step back and saying, hey, we have to get our tax returns in, our pay stubs, all of that. We want to go through a desktop underwrite with our lender, because if we're submitting an offer and there's another offer in there, it's not always price. For us, we just had a home we put on the market. I think we had 17 offers last week. 2 of them retracted because they got scared there was a lot of offers, but it wasn't price. It was, how safe do I feel that this transaction is going to close?
Well, and go down that. So how safe you feel that the transaction will close. What have you seen based on this market with that many offers? Higher fallout rate, harder home inspections? What's that looking like?
It's a crazy market. We had offers, and then we did an open house after, and we had buyers coming through saying, oh, we already have an offer and we just wanted to see the house. And you go, well, no, wait a second.
So
They have an offer in on that house.
They hadn't been through the home.
Wow.
But when buyers, and one of the agents who wrote an offer said, this is our 21st offer for this client. And you go, well, hopefully this podcast will help with minimizing that time. That's draining for both the realtor and the client. But buyers are doing that. They just know, I don't have time to get out there today. Let's just write an offer, and I've got contingencies that are written in there. So I think what we're seeing a lot is there's that emotional, competitive nature. They're getting sick of getting beat out. They go bring that strong offer, and they win it. And they go, wait, there's 15 offers, and I was the highest. Maybe I paid too much. So we're seeing a higher flub rate. We're just seeing a lot of those second thoughts. So I think that's really important for the realtor to be able to communicate the emotional strength that their buyers have.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think it's just, I mean, we've said it. It is so key to set those expectations, because otherwise when buyers fail in getting selected, they'll get angry. They could look at you and like you did something wrong, because they expected, hey, 25 years ago, you know, when my dad bought a house, he wrote an offer and got the house. And so what's wrong with you that it's not happening now? Like it's our fault.
Right.
Like it's our fault. So I love the idea of setting the expectations.
I think it's so important, because in this market feels different than it was last year. I mean, we're already, you know, the end of February, I felt like we were already running faster than we were last February. And in that last February, we were already faster than the February prior to that. So you're already seeing this influx of people coming in to our market. I mean, a lot of my clients right now are coming from out of town, all over. I've got Texas, I've got Portland, I've got Seattle. I mean, so it's not just California people moving in. I saw just nationally news 3 weeks ago on TV, Spokane was number 4.
Really?
For the most affordable living place to live. Number 4 in the country. What is that telling us? It's saying that this is a great place to win. I mean, if you look, we have 60 lakes, 60 miles around from us. Great way to get out into nature. We've got mountains, we got skiing, we got 4 seasons. Spokane is awesome.
Sure.
That's going to bring everybody here, and everybody that's in houses right now they don't want to give up their home. Where are they going to go live? So I think that when you sit down, for me personally, I sit down with my buyers and I make sure like the education, and I even run, I do something a little different. I run my family even through everything. I want no surprises. I always look at if I can be most proactive in this process, then it's going to help everyone. But what happens, and like Marc said, the people came through the open house, they had not seen it. We get that competitive, like, this is the last garment, we've got to have it, the last pair of shoes, I've got to take it, I don't care what the price is. That's that mentality that's happening right now. And I think with the expectations set into the beginning, knowing that there's could be some frustration, and you as a agent just to guide your people constantly. I'm always checking in with my people. Hey, I know that we're still out looking. I know we're still doing this. I'm sending you. I'm checking 3 times a day in the everywhere. And I'm also trying to create some inventory for you with where we're going to go. Looking for some inventory, walking neighborhoods, that kind of stuff, and we'll talk about that later, but that's kind of the expectation I think is so important with multiple offers. The other thing that I think is extremely important, you've got your, like you said, Marc, I love this too, this was great, lender. You got to have all your docs in. If you're a buyer and you're just wanting to gather them, or if you're a buyer's agent that just wants to take people out, you're not going to win. You've got to win in a multiple offer. So get all your stuff. So when I sit down with my people, they're mostly already having that conversation with a lender, and I'm already telling them to gather their documentation. Get on your H&R block, get your stuff together, and let's get it. So you're solid pre-approval. Like that's what you're doing too, which I think you have to set your people up for that. And then I think there's also that piece of emotion, like we talked about. If we're always on top of where our clients are feeling and put ourselves in their shoes, this has got to feel frustrating. I know that, it's okay, because the 23 multiple offer that I was in last week, my people were heartbroken. And I knew when I heard there was 23 offers, I thought, oh, great. But I connect up with every agent that I do across that I'm hoping to put an offer in, and I always ask them, like you were saying, what's important to you? Tell me what's important to your seller, because it might not just be price. It might be a fast close. I got one under contract because it was a fast close. They needed to get out quickly because they were leaving for family emergency, and they were hoping. That's not listed in our multiple listing service, need fast close. And I connected up, and I was up against 2 other offers. They had a longer close, and I set myself apart because I talked to the lender and I said, realistically, what can we do? All documentation's been in. They've already been kind of, not underwritten, but kind of looked at through a processor, underwriting. And they said, we can close this in, X time. I wrote the offer to that, guaranteed okay, had that conversation with the other agent, and put it into my email and sent it over, and we won that offer.
Excellent.
So it's like trying to set yourself apart from everyone else. And sometimes it's just price.
Sure.
I mean, they just want the highest mountain. You're average, and you're just going to be average. But try to think about how can you win for your buyer? What's going to make you different? What's connecting to that seller? And that was the only thing that seller needed was a quick close.
Well, it sounds like the word that would be overarching in this process is communication.
I love it.
Right? Whether it's
Hello,
your clients,
one word.
it's the other agent, and in a market where it's 23 offers, 7 offers, people are running around looking at a house after they put an offer in. Like that expediency probably would create less communication, if I were to guess. And so to tag into being a communicative agent, what are some of the other specific strategies when you're working with a buyer in a multiple offer situation that you've found really can help give them an edge beyond, let's say, just the client who's just going to go for the highest offer no matter what?
I'm not sure if I'm answering your question directly, but with that last offer where we had, it was either 15 or 17, only about half of the realtors actually called to say, hey, we're sending you an offer. The other half just emailed offers. And they didn't read the agent remarks. They didn't, so that communication is huge. We also had 3 calls uninitiated from their lender. We had 3 realtors called, said we're sending you an offer. Shortly after, their lender called and said, hey, I'm working with these clients. here's their financial situation, and it just sets those people apart that it's that much stronger of an offer compared to something you might overlook in your email. You know?
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I'm a buyer broker, and I'm listening to this because we want to be successful. And what I've heard so far is, one, set the expectations with your buyers in the beginning. We want to have lender approval, having spoken with a lender, to be able to show the seller our ability to pay and be successful in buying the seller's house. I loved, Tanya, where you said, call the seller, buyer broker, call the listing agent,
listing agent,
and
yeah.
ask
I don't call your
listing
seller.
agent what is important to your seller,
Yeah.
so that you can, if possible, cater your offer to appeal to that seller. Love that. Follow instructions from the list agent.
What?
I mean, some things you feel like you don't really have to say, and then you realize you have to say it. So buyer brokers, look at the agent remarks, which are remarks that only licensees can see. And are there specific instructions in there? Follow those instructions. And when you submit an offer, buyer broker, call the listing agent and tell them that you've submitted an offer. I mean, those are 6 solid things right there that can set you apart. Keep going.
And I always call and text too. That quick text, because everybody's busy.
Sure.
Hey, just sent you an offer in your email, so they know. Hey, heads up, it's there. So, you know, call, text. I mean, I think that's so important. I do, you know, just having listings myself. It is funny how, like, we're already impending, and I get offers. I'm like, we're already impending. We're already impending in, you know, for inspection. So we've already got a contract. We're already moving towards close, and I'm getting offers. So it's interesting to me that, you know, agents do that, and I feel bad for their buyers too, because their buyers, you know.
Yeah.
I just feel bad for the buyers, but I think, yeah, like you go back to communication is so huge with this, and with these multiple offers, you know, we're gonna see a lot of them coming even heavier in the next 3 months. They're just, you know, they're just gonna come through. What are some of the things that you were saying? Because with your meetings, you have a lot with your team, which I love that you have a team. You've got a lot of out there, feet on the ground, running and stuff. With Navigator, what are you guys, you know, talking about? Because you mentioned a couple things earlier to me.
Yeah, well, this is just a really timely conversation. Every week we meet and we talk about what's happening with the market. Inventory's down, sales are up, prices are up, and we're seeing just a crazy market where homes are being priced probably higher than they should, and then they're going under contract higher than the list price, and all the things that come along with that. Appraisal issues. We got offers, buyers waiving their inspection. You know, and sounds good initially, but there's a downside anytime there's an upside. So it's nice having all the different perspectives of the agents who are in there battling it out. We're on a team, and Keller Williams does that great too. We all just share with each other, but setting aside that time to say, okay. And everybody learns with stories. It's one thing to have data, you know, whether we're chatting with our buyers, they can look at the data, they can hear it, but when you tell them a story, that's what really sinks in.
Yeah.
And so with agents sharing their experience of, hey, this is what happened last week, that's where I think people really learn.
I always share, going back on sharing stories, I share a story with my buyers in the beginning of our initial setup. I always let them know kind of what I'm doing in the market. Hey, I just wrote 3 offers last week. I only got one, you know, one approved, and I was 10,000 over list price. If they're approved at 300,000, I want to let you know we're not going to be looking at a $300,000 house. We could, but we are just really not going to have any room to go up. And so we're going to be maybe looking at a house for 285, 290 to be successful in this market to set them up. But I'm letting them know the stories, like you said. It's so important to give them involvement and empower them. Like, my other 2 clients lost out, so I'm still looking for client, you know, so they know, like, oh, okay, yeah, you're busy, but okay, no, but this is where we are with the market.
You know, I like that we're pretty far into the conversation and we haven't talked about what we put on paper yet, because this stuff is really the most important.
Yeah.
It is that communication. It's the the professionalism of going through the MLS docs.
Yes.
Putting those in order, not sending everything in one lump. You're only sending your offer. You're doing those things and communicating professionally with the other realtor so they know that that's how it's going to be throughout the transaction.
When you say not everything in the docs, go through that, like buyer's agreement in there, is that what you're meaning?
And actually, this was part of our discussion too. You know, Annie put out a video about what things we sent over with our offer, like the seller's disclosure statement. Well, that is something that needs to be signed and delivered, but it's not part of our offer.
Right.
So we have realtors in the MLS that are saying your offer will be rejected if you don't. And we know agents aren't reading the remarks anyway. So what a disservice to your client that you're doing that. So it is extra steps for us to go through, pull things out, different signatures, different emails. But those are the kind of things that set us apart when we're competing against other realtors. And I know, like, kudos to Brian Swanson. He's gotten a lot of offers accepted that weren't the best offer. The other realtor has done business with Brian in the past and said, I know he'll get it done.
Yes.
And he takes pride in what he's presenting and making sure everything's done right.
So I'm going to sum that up with use a competent, professional realtor, someone who's competent and presents well. Because with multiple offers, if somebody comes in all, beshoveled and, throwing stuff in the contract that doesn't belong in the contract,
Right.
are you going to be really excited to, like, oh gosh, I sure hope, we end up working together?
What's the whole transaction going to be like if
Right.
it's starting off like this? So, I mean, yeah, because you do see like buyer's agreements in there. You see all kinds of stuff that doesn't need to be in there. So, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so we're down to like the last minute, you guys, and we have a lot of good things that that you have shared and that I repeated. The one thing I didn't say that somebody here said was have the lender call
Yeah, that's a good one.
and
That was good.
explain the probability or the strength that the buyer has. I thought that was really key. A buyer broker did this to me once, and I was really impressed, and so I do it now. With the offer, he said, and we have our inspection scheduled for Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I thought, whoa, that is cool. I'm impressed, and now I do that.
On a side note, what I've done, I just started doing this a couple weeks ago. Of course, we're starting to get busy. I have my inspector hold one on Friday every week now. And
Sure.
if I don't need it, I'll kind of let
That's
him know.
great.
But because we're getting so busy now, and I know that hopefully I can win something this week, that's how he's doing it, holding it one. And I offer it to somebody else if they don't need it, if I don't need it.
Good, good. Well, you guys, time flew, and we have more to say, but we're out of time.
Darn it.
So
Love it. You
I'd
just
like
go
to
on.
thank co-host Rick Flann for joining us, and our guest Tanya Tyler, Marc Milson with
to be
Keller
here.
Williams Spokane. You guys, this is a show that you can listen to again and again, both buyers and buyer brokers. Sellers, you can listen to if you want to see what they're being told. So, folks, reach out to either Marc or Tanya at Keller Williams Spokane. As always, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Ask the host a question, recommend a guest, or check out any of our other programs on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SpokaneTalksMedia.com. Sponsored by Keller Williams Spokane.